Funding for Lucky Chow has been provided by
All across the U.S., new generations of Asian Americans are adapting and transforming the heritages of their immigrant parents and grandparents.
I strongly believe that people are really craving authenticity, where tradition is becoming the new luxury.
In this episode, I'm going to visit some next-gen entrepreneurs in the food world and see how they keep one foot in the past and one in the future, honoring their Asian roots while chasing their own American dreams.
Yeah, right now we're making our organic chicken shiitake mushroom
The only constant about New York is change, and Chinatown is no exception. Once an enclave for waves of Chinese immigrants, it's now expanding and reshaping itself to appeal to everyone. Offering everything from boba tea to lobster rolls, Canal Street Market is changing the way both locals and tourists experience Chinatown's hectic main drag, recently best known for dubious designer handbags. Its creator, Phil Chung, takes me on a one-stop culinary tour. What is Canal Street Market?
It's a multi-vendor food hall and retail market. We have over 30 different retail vendors and 11 different food vendors here. I think we should try out the drip miso, what they're really known for. Can we do a drip miso soup? Two of them?
What did these vendors think when you approached them about opening something up on Canal Street?
The vendors and the community alike, they were really surprised and taken aback that this concept lived on Canal Street. I think as New Yorkers, people who live or work in New York, most people try to avoid Canal Street. It's really hectic outside, there's a bunch going on, and what we're trying to provide here is a little bit of an escape from that.
Do you see this change going on beyond the market in Chinatown?
I do see a lot of entrepreneurial energy and spirit within Canal Street, especially just amongst my generation.
Right. The group of friends who started the roving dance party Bubble Tea definitely embody the new age entrepreneurship that Phil's talking about. What started as an escape from the mainstream New York social scene turned into a sold-out sensation in only a year. Their safe space for queer Asians, or Slasians as they've dubbed themselves, has evolved into the magical land of bubble tea, where Asians rule, but everyone is welcome.
Bubble tea is a party that sort of celebrates queer Asian POCs with dance and art and drag and live performances, and it's just a really good time.
We've always been passive participants at a lot of other parties in New York, and it's kind of grassroots. Like, we started from just wanting to have a party and have our friends and invite our friends to play the music we want to play. It grew into this community of artists and creatives.
We kind of realized, wow, there's not really a good space that's for us, like a safe space that speaks to queer Asians. We thought, well, why don't we just do something about it? To our first party last year in May, and then ever since then it's been growing and growing and growing.
Growing up in the 90s, it was really hard to find sort of role models who represented our struggles and our story. It's a way to honor my heritage.
It's like nothing that I've ever seen before, this kind of camaraderie and just love between everyone.
I can't believe it's been a year since bubble tea started. Happy birthday to us.
Being with the bubble tea family gave me so much more confidence in myself. Being at these parties helps me feel okay in that. Even if my family doesn't really approve of what I'm doing, my chosen family does.
Oh my God.
Yeah, coming together with the rest of the bubble tea family just helped me to really own everything that I was kind of ashamed of.
I can just be myself.
I'm privileged enough to be able to create this space for our generation.
I'm really proud of the community that we've brought together and the new friends that we've created through the party. We did it, and we didn't expect anything out of it, but obviously there was a need for it, and I feel empowered by what it's become.
Let's see if this is ready.
Yeah.
Rice miso.
Rice miso.
Only bean miso.
Kanpai.
Sure.
When did your family first have an eye on this building?
It was in the early 2000s. So historically, we've always been in and around the Chinatowns. My father is a Chinese immigrant. He's from Hong Kong. My mom's from Taiwan. Every weekend, the family tradition would be to drive into Chinatown, have dim sum, go walk around, shop for groceries, and come back home to New Jersey and cook a Chinese meal. We thought about the community as a whole and how this could be an amenity to the community.
A whole new generation is sort of recreating identity.
Yeah, I think the ultimate goal for us is we just want to give people one more reason to come to Chinatown and explore it.
One of my favorite spots to explore in the Chinatown area has always been Pearl River Mart. For more than 50 years, it's been a staple of the community. It's a place where you can get lost for hours or fill your basket in minutes. A place where you can get anything from Asian-inspired home furnishings and kitchenware to clothing and art. Hi, Joanne.
How are you? So good to see you.
Same here.
Long time no see. Come on in. Let me show you around.
I love this new store, but it still feels like the old Pearl River that we're also used to.
Oh, I'm so glad. Thank you so much for saying that. Mr. Chen, my father-in-law, started the store in 1971, and he was a political activist with a lot of his friends. But he also had a simple thought. One way to really diminish discrimination and increase understanding between neighbors in the United States was to create a store with cool things, and it's kind of like a great democratizer. Back when he opened the store, goods from China were embargoed, so you could not buy them anywhere. And Mr. Chen had to get creative. He brought them in from Canada. He would drive 14 hours one way, pick up a load 14 hours back, and he felt like if people could just see that we're all the same, we like tasty foods, we like beautiful materials, we like things for our home, that barriers would come down and that discrimination would dissipate.
When the inevitable pressures of New York real estate led to the closing of Pearl River's fabled Soho location, Joanne stepped in to help her in-laws recreate the store a few blocks away. She now works with them to curate items that will appeal to both old and new generations of Asians and non-Asians. Ooh, the snack section.
The snack section. People get lost here for hours.
I love all of this. What is this? This woman looks like she's having a lot of fun.
Yes, yes. A sour plum, so.
I've got to try that.
Yes. All right, let's see if we can take it.
Oh. Sour.
Snacks are definitely the great universalizer because everybody loves trying new snacks. The weirder, the better, actually.
That's true. I mean, you have things that I know my kids would love and things that I grew up with that my kids would probably think are weird, like these codfish.
Oh, love the codfish.
Flavored jerky, but also a lot of traditional things. I could stay in the food section forever, but I want to check out the rest of the store.
Yeah, let's go. Welcome to our downstairs.
This is where I come when I need more soup spoons.
Yes. I love the kitchen gadget section because we have old school Asian kitchen items like steamers and then just quirky things.
Dinner time! It's a great place to learn about Asian culture too.
That is one of the things that was very important to us. People like me who are second generation, we might be losing some of our traditions and holidays and the meanings behind these items. And so we want to be able to help keep the traditions alive.
Whereas your parents-in-law started this with a different type of mission, you're really now giving it kind of a new breath of air with the type of stuff that you're curating.
In the 50 years that have elapsed since 1971, there's an entire community of Asian Americans that have grown up here, and we have our own personality. There's another generation behind us, and there are also trends that are coming from Asia right now, and they're all cool.
This really is an emporium that has something for everybody. It's great to see you carry on the legacy.
Thank you, and thank you so much for coming and for all that you do.
I'm a fan. Could we try a Silk Road falafel wrap? This looks amazing. This doesn't look like something I would expect to find on Canal Street. As a kid, you were coming into Canal Street every weekend. What did the street look like back then?
So, as I was growing up, I remember Canal Street for having a lot of car audio stores, a lot of stores that sold souvenirs. I love New York t-shirts. I personally used to come to Canal Street to buy my mixtapes, and I think currently there's a reputation for a lot of counterfeit goods being sold on Canal Street. So if you walk up and down the street, you'll be, I don't know, solicited for a lot of different name brand items that may or may not be real.
I mean, I think the whole idea of Chinese food having to be cheap and served in a takeout box is just a part of our previous imagination.
We still love it, right? But again, going back to just Canal Street Market, bring a different spin on things. One thing that everyone shares in here is the commitment to quality. They know the time and effort that goes into making each and every product, and sometimes the price reflects that.
One of the challenges of being an Asian American is that the homemade specialties you grew up eating can be harder to come by. Tony Wu and his partner Kat Ye are helping to fill the gap, hand-making small batch Asian soups that get delivered right to your front door.
Nam's crafts wholesome Asian soups for busy individuals. We craft these traditional Asian soups using clean, often organic ingredients. We freeze the broths for convenience, and then we deliver it to our user's door.
Is this a personal recipe of yours?
Growing up, my parents, because they're busy and working, they would make a large cauldron of soup. After we were finished, we'd always freeze a portion for later. We don't live close to our parents anymore. Why not have a branded product that can offer that same service? You know, the Asian American experience for me personally is very different from my parents. I was born and raised in Ohio. My Spanish is better than my Chinese, and I go to the supermarket, I'm lost. We really can't find a lot of Asian products that fit our needs.
Right.
So we like to fulfill that need, and that's how we came up with Nam's.
And what are the different soups that you serve?
Sure. Right now, what we have in front of us is the ingredients to our organic chicken shiitake mushroom soup.
I'd love to see how you make your soup.
This is a garnish bag. We use it to accentuate our soups. These garnish bags, just in the soup, allowing it to fortify the soup. This is Kat. She's my partner and co-founder.
The soup that we're boiling right now contains a mix of chicken bones, the spice bag that you put in, and mushrooms. This recipe is derived from my parents, my experiences, friends, also Tony's experience that we put this recipe together.
Any great culinary tips for making bone broth?
Clear your schedule.
Yeah, clear your schedule.
Yeah.
Use the best ingredients. Just takes a lot of time and love.
I'd love to try them.
Oh, absolutely. Let's go get you some soup.
Can you walk me through the Nam's experience?
Yes, definitely. So this is the finished product that reaches our customers. This is a condensed soup. Plop the block in a pot, add water to the water line, and then just basically heat.
Oh, there you go. Wow.
When we finish the soups, we cut everything ourselves, the scallion, the ginger, the mushrooms, and we garnish every soup with fresh cut, hand cut scallion.
Well, it's amazing. You actually make every batch of soup yourself by hand.
Yes.
So, I mean, talk about wholesome and transparency. You know exactly what you're getting. It just smells so good. I can smell the scallions, the shiitake, and then just that really chickeny smell, right? Wow. This is so good. It's perfect. I don't need any spices to it. Yeah, I'm going to be drinking this all winter long. I feel wholesome and better already. Thank you, guys. You know, food has always been a reason why people have come down to Chinatown, right?
Yeah.
And I feel like the same is still happening now. What do you really see as the future of Chinatown?
The younger generation reclaiming their identity or really putting their stamp on Asian American identity. And it's telling stories through food or art or architecture. There's a million different outlets. I think I'm seeing those seeds being planted every day in Chinatown right now.
Alice Jun learned about makgeolli as a child, when helping to brew the milky Korean rice wine was a fun way to hang out with her dad. Now she's making it herself and hoping to introduce Americans to makgeolli through her artisanal small batch brew. So what is makgeolli?
So makgeolli is a traditional Korean rice alcohol. It's both rice and grain based. It's unfiltered, so it has this rice sediment in it that gives it its milky coloring. It's typically very light and sweet and bubbly. It's a combination of rice, nuruk, and water. The most common type of rice that's used here, this is glutinous rice or sweet white rice. First step in making makgeolli is washing the sweet rice. You're going to wash the rice a couple of times until the water runs clear.
And then steaming it, right?
Yes, put the rice in. So that's going to take about 30 to 40 minutes.
So did you grow up with your family making makgeolli?
Yeah, so the way I got into makgeolli was actually through my father. As a kid, I would help him make makgeolli just as a form of play, obviously, because I wasn't old enough to drink it. But then that has really cemented in me a love for making booze. Yeah.
I mean, what was really your inspiration?
I want people in the States to be able to try makgeolli that is totally different from the stuff that's available from imports. I strongly believe that people are really craving authenticity, where tradition is becoming the new luxury. So I think the rice is ready, so let's just put this away.
Great.
Watch out. Woo. Spread it out a bit.
Okay.
We're just cooling it down. Don't press too hard, and we'll just let that sit. So the rice is cooled, and as you can see,
al dente.
It's a little al dente. Break up the nuruk into fine pieces and sprinkle it over the rice. We're gonna start putting the rice into the jar. Just add in, this is about 1 liter of water.
Okay.
Stick your hand in and kind of like massage the rice into the water. The nuruk will become active, the cultures will start breaking down the rice. You'll see lots of bubbles and activity within this jar, and you can actually just take this home with you and watch the progress.
Oh, really? Thank you.
Yeah, of course.
Fermentation can take anywhere from 3 weeks to 3 months. Alice was nice enough to prepare a batch for me in advance so I could try some freshly squeezed makgeolli.
This is called a hangari. It's a traditional Korean clay pot. Fermentation of makgeolli and kimchi and other fermented products are typically done in this kind of pot, specifically because the clay is porous and it can breathe. Bacteria in the molds broke the rice down, the yeast converted to alcohol, CO2, and acid. In Korean, we call it 손맛. It means hand taste.
Oh, okay.
손맛 is really a way to describe the flavor of someone's care. Your hands have unique microbes that are unique to you. And so it can actually contribute to flavor.
All right, well, I can't wait to taste this.
Me too. Danielle, this is Shin.
Alice asked me to prepare a couple of dishes to pair with makgeolli.
And now we get to try some of the makgeolli. So this is what we filtered earlier together. This is the tanyanju.
Ganbei.
So it's a little tart, heavier, less carbonated.
It's delicious.
This is more true to the character.
So this is the cheongju. This is actually much older, I think 64 days. So again, you'll experience like the tart qualities, but it's much more clear and light and floral.
So different.
Yes.
Very different.
I want to try the green bottle stuff
yeah,
and see how you guys have transformed my whole view of makgeolli. Yeah, this just really has no depth to it, right? It like lacks character.
Yeah.
Well, you guys are the perfect pairing. Thank you. I almost did a double take because I was in Tokyo last week and I saw Luke's Lobster.
The Japanese are really receptive to American concepts out there,
That's
which is
crazy
interesting.
because people think about, you know, going to Japan to have the best seafood, and yet they're eating Luke's Lobster from Maine.
So Davy's Ice Cream is an ice cream parlor. They started out in the East Village. It's owned by a Korean American.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he has a design creative background and one day decided he was tired of it and wanted to start making ice cream.
Well, what a fun job. Could I have a Thai iced tea and a cookies and cream? I think that sounds like a good mashup. What do you think?
Yeah. A little fusion there.
Yeah. Thank you. This is really good. I never thought that Thai iced tea and cookies and cream would be so delicious together, but it's kind of like the perfect cultural mashup. I'm so excited to see what the future brings for Canal Street Market because it just feels like it's unfolding and changing every day.
Thank you, and thank you for being a part of this amazing community.
Of course, you don't have to be Asian American to bring an Asian tradition to America. Brandon Hill fell in love with soju after he moved to Korea in 2011, which was the year of the rabbit. When he returned to the United States, he couldn't find a traditional soju made with authentic ingredients, so he decided to make one himself. And he gave it an auspicious name, the Korean word for rabbit. Well, Brandon, thank you for having us here.
Yeah.
What is soju, actually?
Soju is a Korean distilled spirit, and it was originally made from rice and a wild yeast called noruk and water, and that's it. I feel like soju is kind of going through an identity crisis. The only sojus that are available in the US are the green bottle sojus, where it's made from everything from tapioca to sorghum and sweet potato. We here at Toki do a traditional style that I learned while I was distilling in Korea. When I moved back here, I couldn't find the traditional sojus anymore, so just decided to make it for myself.
Why do you think it took so long to bring this here?
Korea is now kind of having like a big food movement here. Korean barbecue and Korean restaurants are kind of up and coming now, and closely behind that is soju and makgeolli.
What are the secrets behind the quality of your soju?
This is called noruk. We cultivate it off of wheat cakes like this. And then
Should I not be touching it?
No, you can totally touch it. Yeah, you can totally touch it. You could even eat it if you want.
Oh, okay.
This is the fermentation starter.
So what is this mallet for?
Yeah, so this is what you're gonna do.
Okay.
The end goal is to kind of get it to a consistency like this.
Uh-huh.
So and just kind of ground it into a fine powder and then add it to the fermentation.
Wow.
Yeah. So this is another reason why a lot of people don't do it, because it is pretty labor intensive.
So I guess this is what they mean by artisanal hand-batched spirits.
So once we have all the yeast ready to go, we'll start cooking the rice, and then we'll introduce the enzymes into it and stir them in.
Can I check it out?
Yeah, please, let's
All right.
go. So once we have that dried yeast, we need to cook the rice. And so that's what we're doing in this big pot right here. This is called the mash tun. So right now it's filled with cooked rice. We use the only organic grower of Korean strands in the US, which is in California. All right, ready?
Yes.
All right.
This is the biggest pot of porridge I've ever seen.
Yeah, right now we have about 700 pounds of rice in here. So after we cook it, we're gonna cool it, and then we're gonna mix in that noruk that you saw, and then we're gonna send it into the fermenter and start the fermentation process. Well, it looks good, you're hired.
Okay.
You wanna see the next step?
Yes.
All right, let's go to the still. After the fermentation, we have the distillation. This is what makes it into the soju. So right now it's coming off the still, and this is what we're gonna keep. So we can check for clarity and smell, and then the taste is, just be careful, it's pretty high proof. But you can even taste the sweetness of the rice at that percentage.
Incredible. I've never had anything like that. My sinuses are totally cleared, and right now my belly's kind of on fire.
Yeah, yeah, you did good. That's 160 proof. So
oh my gosh.
You did amazing.
It's like eating a peppercorn, you know?
Yeah.
You're just completely not ready for
Yeah,
the fire that comes afterward.
Do you want me to get some water for you?
No,
Are
I'm
you sure?
okay. I can handle it. Brand started Toki on his own and eventually took on a partner, filmmaker Doug Park. Doug showed me how the freshly distilled soju is bottled.
And then you're just gonna press that green button right there.
So why did you and Brandon decide to create Toki in Brooklyn?
I was working as a photographer and I wanted to kind of segue into more documentary work, tell other people's stories. And then I came across Brand and I was like, no way, there's a white guy making soju in Brooklyn. And then when I first came here and met him, he just handed me a shot of Toki and I was just blown away. It was so complex, it was not like one-dimensional. So I was really excited by the prospect of having an elevated soju. And then you're gonna press on that button. Awesome. There you go.
Thank you.
Yeah.
How do you think that people kind of treat drinking culture differently in Asia versus in the US?
In the US, it's very bar-centric, and I think Asian culture is more about sitting down, having a meal, and drinking with people, having more of a conversation, which I was kind of drawn to.
Is there a traditional way that you toast somebody?
Yeah, there's the cheers. That's it's when you raise your glass, ganbae.
It's wonderful to see these entrepreneurs, chefs, and party throwers bringing Asian traditions into modern America. Now, more than ever, we all need to understand other cultures from around the globe. And I'm a big believer that it all starts with food and drink. With new generations taking the traditions they grew up with and weaving them into the America they know today, it should be possible for all of us to eat, drink, and party together.
Funding for Lucky Chow has been provided by To learn more about Lucky Chow, visit luckyrice.com.